Audrey Marie Hilley's story begins like a classic American tragedy. A small-town girl from Anniston, Alabama, who married her high school sweetheart, Frank Hilley, in 1951. To outsiders, they were the picture of post-war domestic bliss. Frank worked hard at the local pipe foundry, while Audrey played the role of devoted wife and mother to their two children, Carol and Mike. But beneath this wholesome facade, a darker truth festered. Audrey was deeply unhappy, resentful of their modest lifestyle, and desperate for more. By the 1970s, Audrey's reckless spending had plunged the family into debt. She wrote bad checks all over town, and when that wasn't enough, began seducing her bosses for money and promotions. Frank, unaware of her affairs, worked grueling overtime shifts to cover her mounting debts. Then, in the summer of 1975, Frank fell violently ill. Doctors initially diagnosed hepatitis, but his symptoms, excruciating stomach pain, violent vomiting, and a strange metallic taste in his mouth, pointed to something far more sinister. By August, Frank was dead at just 46 years old. The cause? Officially, natural causes. But 3 months earlier, Audrey had taken out a $31,000 life insurance policy on her husband. The payout gave Audrey financial freedom, but it also made her a suspect. When whispers of foul play began circulating, she turned her attention to the one person who knew too much, her own daughter, Carol. In 1977, Carol, then 20, began suffering eerily similar symptoms to her father's. Doctors were baffled until toxicology tests revealed shocking levels of arsenic in her blood. Carol survived, but the betrayal left deep scars. With authorities closing in, Audrey staged her own disappearance in 1979, telling friends she was traveling to Texas for cancer treatment. Months later, a man claiming to be her half-brother informed the family that Audrey had died of leukemia. But Audrey was very much alive, and already crafting a new identity. She resurfaced in Florida as Robbie Hannon, a grieving widow, and later in New Hampshire as Terry Martin, a name she stole from a real woman's gravestone. For years, she lived undetected, even remarrying. Her downfall came in 1983, when a bad check in Vermont led the FBI straight to her. Arrested outside her workplace, Audrey calmly admitted her true identity, and the charges waiting in Alabama. At trial, she spun wild tales of amnesia and CIA persecution, but the jury saw through her lies. Convicted of murder, she was sentenced to life in prison, but Audrey had one last act of defiance. In February 1987, during a blizzard, she escaped, only to be found frozen to death just yards from freedom. To this day, questions linger. Was Frank her first victim? How many others suffered at her hands? The answers died with Audrey, the Black Widow of Alabama, whose perfect lies masked a heart of pure poison.